All right. Well, we can go ahead and get started. Hi, I am Mary Beth McLaughlin. I'm the facilitator for today's SCORE workshop. Thank you all for joining us today at SCORE Maine. We really appreciate your participation in today's event. We are presenting a webinar called The Future is Short: Business Growth Through Short Form Video. This webinar is possible today because of the generosity of our sponsor, Maine Technology Institute, and we would like to thank them for being one of the major sponsors of our webinars. Today's program will be presented by Dean Georgi, the founder of Hero Media, who is an expert on video production and editing and has offered to share his expertise on video storytelling. We'll be responding to questions at the end of the presentation. So for questions, please either post your question in the chat window or you can raise your hand. Thank you so much to Dean, and thank you for being here with us today. Welcome.
Thanks, Mary Beth. It really is great to be here. It seems like a fairly intimate group, 10 or so. Again, welcome. And so, if you've got a question, I really don't mind stopping. I mean, I would like this to be a dialogue. I can't see you, but if there's a burning question, if it sort of piques an interest as I go through the material, just raise your hand and Mary Beth will interrupt me. This really is sort of positioned as I know I should be doing more of this, but I'm not sure how to get started. Sort of 101, which I think a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs fall into that category. I know that they do because I talk to a lot of them and sort of hear their excuses as to why they're not doing it, all very valid. But today, if you are aware of the movements in social media, this is very topical because just about an hour ago, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to ban TikTok. And we could probably do an hour on that alone as we go through this material. This is very TikTok heavy. I think it is a fantastic platform. I'm a big advocate for it, mainly because it works so well. So we can unpack that a little bit as we go or at the end. But I guess I would say that doesn't mean that social media is going away, right? This is all about attention, and there are multiple platforms. And TikTok, there's 170 million users. That will evolve in some way. So the idea of presenting your story, your authentic story, as a small business through short form video, is here to stay. Again, my name is Dean Georgi. I am owner of Hero Media Network. We're about to actually launch a rebrand tomorrow, just as Hero Network, with some plans to scale nationally through remote video capture and production, really helping small businesses. I have owned an agency for the last 10 years or so in Wayne, Maine, west of Augusta, really with a focus on helping small businesses tell their story, websites, graphic designs, brochures, and things like that. And it was really since the pandemic that short form video, and by that I mean vertical video on our phones, you've engaged with a lot of it, really sort of came of age. We spent a lot of time on our phones during the pandemic. The rise of TikTok, and then because of that success, I think Instagram and Facebook and now YouTube Shorts, really the same piece of content, short form, less than a minute, organic, user-generated content, not cinematic or slick, focus on authenticity, really has proven its ability to transform businesses. So that is what we have pivoted into. I'm a big advocate of that for businesses to tell their story. And anyone can do it. So this is what we'll cover. It is the power of story. It's your superpower, and it's something that no competition can really match, right? You are your subject matter expert, and simply telling that makes an emotional connection with customers. We'll talk about that. I'll throw you a few statistics that illustrate the dominance of video on these platforms. Probably won't come as any surprise to you, but it's pretty stunning when you sort of see the numbers. What to film, what do I say, and how do I do it? We'll sort of break down, some of the nuts and bolts of how to go about doing this, telling your own story. The good thing is you have all the equipment you need in your pocket already. attached to your monthly Verizon or AT&T bill, your cell phone. And finally, I hope the real big takeaway is, you are your business. And I think we as consumers really want to do business with people we feel we know. It develops sort of a rooting interest, an emotional connection and intimacy almost when you follow a business on social media. And we feel good about commerce in that way. I think speaking for myself and probably for everybody, we're sort of tired of, the corporate owned media and advertising and politics and just the noise. We're just sort of inundated with stuff. And when we see a piece that sort of cuts through all that and you go, wow, what an interesting person. If ever I need that thing, I'm going to go to that person to get it. That's what we're about. And it really is attainable for everyone. I want to start with a classic example for me and the power of TikTok. This goes back about a year or so ago. This is Talk About Joy's, a Mexican restaurant in a strip mall north of Chicago, kind of a 3-table, 2-parking space kind of place. And through TikTok, I got to know the story, right? This is an immigrant woman who married a Mexican-American man and started making the recipes of her mother-in-law. And somebody said, wow, this is fantastic. You should open a restaurant. Classic entrepreneurial tale. And she did. And it got toward the holidays and business is slow. And her daughter said, let's try some TikToks. And they did. And it really transformed the business. This is the one on the left. It's 8 seconds. Her face is not even in it. It's just text on screen. It breaks my heart to see my mom watching the door every day, waiting for a customer to walk in. Empathy is triggered, right? And it's like, wow, I'll check it out. In 4 days, releasing that, 35 million views and 66,000 comments, just a classic viral hit. And the way the algorithms are working now, TikTok in particular, it delivers content based on interest and also location. So some of the comments were, wow, this is right around the corner from me. I didn't know this was here. I'll be right over. And I think a knock on some of social media, traditionally has been, yeah, likes and follows are great, but is that customer really coming through my door? And again, these algorithms are changing now to really deliver content that is actionable for you. So the local media showed up, right? And the food reviewers showed up, and she got a national hit on Rachel Ray there in the bottom, a sort of follow-up stories. I mean, it really did transform her business overnight. And they started talking about a second location. So again, viral video is possible. I think we all know that, but that really is not the goal. And you might be saying, okay, that's great, but is there somebody, in my neighborhood, is there a main example of somebody that's been using these platforms to great effect? And there is. This is Bruce Graybill from Siders Woodcrafting in Brewer, Maine. He is another classic entrepreneurial story, right? That's what SCORE and we are all about supporting. He quit 2 jobs. One was in retail, one was in law enforcement, to follow his passion of woodworking. He got on TikTok, and this is the one that sort of blew up his business. I think 5 million views or something. He was just working on this really interesting project in a friend's home. And then he had a fire in his business and really lost a lot of capital, tools, and momentum, if nothing else. And his new fans on TikTok set up a GoFundMe and said, we love this guy, let's go. And they raised some money and help him rebuild his shop. And I spoke to him several months ago now, as I was preparing this earlier in the year. And he's like, if not for TikTok, I'd be out of business, which makes today's announcement from our elected leaders all the more interesting, because he does about 20% of his business online, does a lot of trade shows, and we'll talk about his business a little bit more. And 98% of that is through TikTok, because the algorithm is so effective in finding your ideal customer. This is organic content, meaning, and that's kind of a buzzword, meaning it's not paid advertising. It's just stuff that you create and you post. So the emphasis is on authenticity. You're not crafting a commercial. You're not even putting money behind it. Right? This is a free publishing platform available to you. And, the support for small business is hot right now. Hopefully you feel that. I think we all do as consumers. The pandemic, again, just sort of reawakened, our awareness to the importance of local business to our communities, local circulation of money. Frankly, that's why my business is called Hero, right? Because these are people who step out and boldly follow their passion. And I think we all recognize that our money is better spent locally for people like that than it is, to corporate entities. And again, the good thing is you have all the tools you need. It's just a matter of gaining confidence and and a little bit of know-how. And it has to be on your phone because that's where we spend all of our time, right? And I think we intuitively know this. If you're a parent, these statistics might be a little shocking. Our average daily screen time, 3 hours and 15 minutes. And you think, there's no way. How is that possible? Well, how do you interact with your phone? I can only speak for myself, but sometimes I'm checking my email before my feet hit the floor, right? And it's just a quick pickup. Anytime you're sort of have that gap in your mind, you pick up the phone, and we can talk about, what that's doing to us long term, but it is sort of a fact of life today. So how do we get to 3 hours and 15 minutes? You see there, 58 times on average, we're picking it up. This is research done by an outfit called Rescue Time. And most of those, 70% of them, are for less than 2 minutes, right? It's just that gap filler. And I don't have to tell you how often we do that. And that's why short form video sort of fits that slot. We can engage, we still are sitting down and watching a movie, or we're finding stuff on YouTube that's a little bit longer when we're carving out time to do that. But the short form, again, vertical on your phone, just sort of fits the way we live. The statistics down at the bottom, there are reams of them, right? Again, I don't have to tell you, we're all just looking for the play button, right? We engage with that content. We're more likely to share it. We're more likely to buy when we see a video about something that we like. And it's just where we are today. And you as a business, we as business owners really need to be there if we want to meet our customer where they are. So I would argue it's no longer a novelty. It's no longer a luxury. It really, telling your story through these free self-publishing platforms really is necessary in order to connect with customers today. You would recognize these as social media icons. We prefer to refer to them as publishing platforms. Again, this is free worldwide distribution on multiple platforms. And if you think back to the old days, if you used to have to buy ads in the newspaper to reach your local constituents, or local insertions on your cable TV station, you had to hire a crew to produce a commercial. You had to craft the commercial, and it cost you money. And you can still do that. And certainly paid social media can be used to great effect, but that's not necessary. It really is getting in there and producing the content yourself, placing them on these platforms. And the great rise that we've seen over the last couple of years, I would argue, really has been driven by TikTok in that format, and the others have followed suit. Right, Instagram has sort of went through an identity crisis. If you've been on that platform for a long time, it's sort of morphed from a photo sharing app to video. Facebook has embraced video. YouTube Shorts, now is really being pushed for engagement by its parent company, Google. And the same piece of vertical content can be splashed on all of these platforms. And there are others. LinkedIn takes vertical content. There's Pinterest, there's Lemon8 I came across, there more are coming. So as I started, sort of lamenting the problems that TikTok is having because I think it just works so well, this is where our attention is, and something will fill that gap, or it will morph. Again, telling your story through video on our mobile devices, or soon, the glasses we wear on our face. That is where we are, and that's where we're going to continue to be. Quickly, you can see the notes there in the bottom. TikTok really has a great search function now. If you're on it, if you're not, try it. There's the search bar at the top. Search in any topic, any location, any newsworthy items. It really, for Gen Z, is surpassing Google for that search function, because you Google something and you get lots of sort of sponsored texty results that you have to sift through and read. TikTok will give you a video that is produced by a real person And, you know, there's some curation you have to figure out, especially these days with AI, and we can talk about that, but it's very immediate. YouTube Shorts, again, owned by Google. It's the second biggest search engine in the world. YouTube is, they're all about shorts, and it's a great app because you've got traditional YouTube and shorts in one. Facebook, you know, is the dominant player, and Instagram Reels. If you know, if you have an existing social media following, they're probably on those platforms. Should you use social media on video? This is a fun little graphic, and Maribeth will distribute the slides if you're interested. It's
Yeah.
kind of fun to watch through this. All roads lead to yes, right? If you want to engage where your customers are, if you want to entertain them, you know, if you want to sort of be relevant, it comes down to use social media video. So now you're saying, yes, okay, I get it. I came into this knowing that it was important, right? Tell me something I don't know. Oftentimes we hear from, you know, small business owners who are so busy doing other things, right? Marketing is just sort of one more plate you have to keep spinning. And it's, you know, wouldn't know what to say. I don't like how I sound on camera. I'm not good with tech. You know, where do I get started? Which is sort of, you know, where we really like to encourage you to just be yourself. And if you think about your story as your superpower, again, something that corporate America would love to try to emulate. I think we've all seen them try, right? It's the Capital One, you know, cheese shop commercial, right? That it's just sort of overproduced and it doesn't come through as authentic, right? That is sort of the sweet spot. So if you are a passionate entrepreneur about something, you started your business or you are starting your entrepreneurial journey for a reason, talk about that. Biographical. What's your story? You own a pizza place. You know, how did you get started? Did you work in a restaurant as a kid? Oh no, this is my grandmother's, you know, pizza recipe that, you know, was handed down. Cool. Wow, I'm engaged already. Educational. What kind of tomatoes do you like to use for your sauce? What's your herb recipe? You know, people really want to engage on that educational content. Again, these algorithms are sort of slices of interest, right? You can find people that are interested in that sort of bucket that you're talking about. These are entertaining, simple, and fun. It doesn't have to be much. You know, tossing your pizza in the air, slow motion, you know, just a quick little, wow, that's fun. Episodic. This is the best opportunity that I see. Because you are producing this yourself, ideally, or certainly easily, you don't have to make it a movie, right? It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be in depth. It could just be quick little hits. Posting frequency is the most important thing. It's just maintaining that steady cadence. So it's tell your story over time. This is a new menu item that I'm rolling out, and this is the recipe behind it, or here's my new employee, or here's my new line of something, or here's my upcoming event. And you can just sort of let people follow along. And once people see you, like you, they swipe right, they follow you, right? They will see you more often. That's the way these work. That's all about engagement. And you can really turn your business into a reality show. And you say, well, what I do is not that interesting. Believe me, it is. And, you know, again, I think we all want to attach ourselves to, we gravitate towards things that are real. One of our recent clients owns a bike shop. She's a female bike shop mechanic, owns a bike shop in Venice Beach, California. And she said, I really like your service because I forget what I do is interesting. Right. And that's as simple as, you know, we as small business owners, we just put our blinders on and we're just doing what we do because we got to do it. And we got payroll and we got it's tax time and we got, and if, you know, what I think this approach, this content allows us to step back and say, wow, yeah, I do have something to say. And the way that I say it is just me. And that is the stuff that resonates with people. And that's, you don't need an advanced training or degree or, you know, anything other than the courage to do it. Back to Cider's woodworking, Brewer, Maine. This is a classic example. And I talked to him a few months ago as I was putting all this together. And you talk about, you know, the buckets of content. This is it. And if you're on TikTok, check him out. If you're not, I would even encourage you to do it. I checked in on his account today and he's still doing it. It's fantastic. I know that he was in Philadelphia and then Harrisburg for a couple of shows, and he brought his daughter with him, and he made her a name tag. That's the biographical piece, right? It's like he brings in his family. I know about his family dog. I know, it's just him as a person, which is engaging, right? It's not reality TV. It's not overproduced. It's just a real person that's relatable, right? It's educational. Oh, he's a woodworker. He knows your jigs and your bits and your whatever else. If I'm a woodworker, I'm interested in the tools he's using, right? And again, that the algorithm will sort of slice these buckets of content into an audience. So if you cover all of these, you're bringing more people onto the tent. Entertainment. TikTok, as you may know, has a lot of sort of trending sounds and funny little things. You can slap some text on it. He's like, I'm kind of a goofball, and he's like, my account really took off when I just decided to go for it and get over that sort of hesitancy, that reluctance to really let it all hang out. He puts on a funny hat and he does funny voices, and it comes across as real. And then this episodic piece I just mentioned, right? I'm going on a road trip, and this is me, setting up for the show. Here's my booth number. Here's, a guy I just met, right? And that's, if you just take the time, it doesn't have to take long. We'll talk about that. Pull out your phone, shoot something, edit something, say something, boom, it's another piece of content. The more you can do that, the more, you're fishing. You're just sort of trolling for stuff. You're throwing it into the pond and reeling it in. You have that many more chances for something to catch, right? And again, people can follow along and really start engaging with your story. Speak to your audience, as I sort of mentioned that. He's like, I've got a huge fan base of woodworking people, but they don't necessarily buy my products, right? He does custom cutting boards, laminated cutting boards from exotic woods and things. Fantastic. So he'll hashtag some, which is a way for the algorithm to sort of grab onto that piece of content and feed it to like-minded people. There's some debate as to the effectiveness of that, but at least in your mindset, right? This piece is for my woodworking people that is my community. This piece, I'm going to hashtag custom kitchens because they'll spend $100 on a cutting board, right? So you just be aware that you do have different audiences that are interested in different things. And so you can sort of position yourself that way. He's really gotten into the metrics, right? And once you open your account, if you don't already, you can get into, who's watching and when, and what's my best time to post. It's fun. There's lots of live opportunities now. Once you reach a certain threshold in your follower count, you can go live, right? And have immediate interaction with, with comments and directly engaging with your audience. TikTok Shop, right? He can put, products right there and have people buy it. Kind of like the old QVC. I'm dating myself, but it's a great way to sell your products. All the production done on his phone. Okay, great. I know what I should say, and I know why I should say it. How do I do it? And really, the bare minimum is just the phone. I'm sure just the phone you already have in your pocket. You don't need the iPhone 15 with the 3 lenses and the 48 megapixels. You don't. We've created really compelling content with an iPhone 7, I think it was. So as long as it's a smartphone with a decent camera, and they're all at least 1080p, that's good enough. It's about capturing footage, what we call B-roll, right? Just the snippets of things that we look at, and then it's editing those into a story, to whatever degree. You could be like this guy, right? And just, hold it out and speak to the camera for 30 seconds and post it. That's fine. There's no editing involved at all. And in fact, that can be great. Or you can get into, filmmaking in a light sense, and just sort of edit these things together to tell a story. And you can do that inside the application. We'll talk about this a little bit more, or outside the application. And you can upgrade your gear to your heart's content. So it really runs the gamut from just pulling out your phone and talking to it, posting it, or, all the way into, real tools of creativity and productivity. The visual approach. They call it a frame for a reason, right? And it's about putting edges around something. It's looking at something and consciously seeing what's around the edges. And it sounds simple, but we don't often do it. You know, I still find myself doing it. We're so excited to just sort of point our camera at that thing that's happening. We don't really see what's around the edge. Oh, there's a telephone pole that doesn't really need to be there, or I could have gotten a lot closer to that, right? It's just about being consciously aware of what is inside and what is deliberately left outside of the frame. Um, and I think that we're all really sophisticated viewers just because we see a lot of stuff, you know, we watch a lot of stuff. But again, it's that sort of taking a half a step back to go, okay, I see it, but now, you know, am I really seeing it? Am I really seeing it the way I want it to be seen? Shot variety. Again, if you want to illustrate a story, think of a variety of shots. Wide, medium, and close-up is kind of as basic as it breaks down to. A wide shot. This is my storefront. This is where it sits on the street. This is a pan of my dining room or my workshop. This is an independent jeweler that we worked with outside of Houston, right? Okay, you can see he works in a shop, probably by himself, you know, and a medium shot. These are the tools that he has surrounding him. I get what he's doing. You're placing him in context. And then the close-up, I love because it conveys such great emotion, right? And you can get very close with your phones. We do a lot of hands, a lot of eyes, you know, a lot of sort of furrowed brows, because that really makes that emotional connection. And don't be afraid to try it. I mean, the phone has its minimum focusing distance, right? So just get up as close as you can to something until the phone can't focus anymore, right? And then just back off a couple of inches. And that's a really tight, cool shot. If you have a fancier phone, switch to macro, right? And again, it's the tool that you have in your pocket. I don't have to tell you, you know, 10 years ago would have cost thousands of dollars. You know, 20 years ago, it's a Hollywood, you know, $100,000 camera. It's amazing. And it really is not a barrier to what we can do anymore. And I'll just pause right there and talk about clarity, quality, cinematic. You know, it doesn't need to be that because it's all about authenticity, right? It doesn't, it just needs to be real. And so it could be a little bit grainy. It can be a little bit overexposed. It just needs to come through as authentic. So the technical stuff really is sort of less important. This one is important, I will say, is camera movement. And you don't need to understand and memorize all of these things. I guess it just sort of falls under the moniker of my daughter's favorite band, One Direction, right? And just keep that in mind. What it really is distracting and sort of nausea-inducing is when you just sort of start waving your camera around, right? And again, I think we all have done that. Excited to sort of show the scene. Well, think about that in scenes, right? If you want to show your dining room, your workspace, start left and go right. Start right and go left, right? Dolly or zoom, you know, move in. A note about that, don't pinch in, right? The digital zoom, because that introduces sort of noise. Zoom with your feet is the old photography saying, right? Up and down, left and right. You know, the pedestal could be cool. Start below a table and just sort of scooch down and come up above the table, right? To reveal something. There's sort of basic visual moves that with just a little bit of practice can be very effective, and just sort of make your stuff stand out from the crowd, and do it really slow. Try to do it as slowly as you can, you know, because I think when you see it on screen away from the context, any sort of sudden movement can be distracting. Stabilization. If there's one piece of equipment outside your phone that I would recommend, it is a tripod. For a couple of reasons, that stabilization piece, if you're illustrating something, right? If you're a woodworker, you're a cook, you're anything, you want to illustrate a process, keep it steady. You can get them with lights if you want to sort of do selfie video, that can help. These have a gooseneck, right? That will sort of get you a little bit closer to the action. I've seen some now that they have sort of, it doubles as a selfie stick and a tripod. I've seen new ones recently that hang around your neck and hold the phone right there. So if you're trying to illustrate a process that you're doing right in front of you, all of this stuff, you know, is sort of $20 on Amazon or Best Buy, whatever. It's not very expensive at all. Even the lights. but makes all the difference. Backlighting or lighting in general, again, I think we know this intuitively, but it's just sort of that conscious step of, okay, where is the light? Where is the light shining right now? And could I move a little bit better to enhance that light? It's always better if it comes from behind you, right? And here's an example from that bike shop. If you've got storefront windows or you're outside, you're shooting towards the sun, the contrast is really going to increase, right? The colors are going to dull. There's going to be distracting shadows. Try to turn it around and things are a little bit more vibrant, especially with people. The lenses on these cameras are really great. So it's not as big an issue as it once was. Anybody that sort of goes back to the photography days, it can ruin a picture. Again, they're very capable machines, these amazing phones, but just keep that in mind, little things that can enhance it. And I think somewhere we've got a guide, or maybe it'll be distributed by SCORE with just sort of more shooting tips about frame design and leading lines and, from a more, sort of photographer's perspective. Okay, you've shot all your footage and you want to assemble it in some way. There are a number of different ways you can do that. In these applications that you're on, and I would encourage you to be on all of them, right? Again, free, open up your accounts, get to know them a little bit. Particularly TikTok and YouTube Shorts have really robust editing functions inside the platform, inside the app. So you can shoot it, and right from your camera roll, you can edit it and then upload it without ever leaving the app. TikTok, most famously. There are others that they sort of work with, CapCut or Captions, and once you get into them, they're all around. Give it a Google. And so you can add a little bit more functionality and upload it straight from your phone. If you want to get a little bit more involved, you can pull your footage off the phone, right, into a web-based editor. There's plenty of, Canva is a great one. Kapwing is one we've used that I like. It's sort of a Google Docs for video. And a short learning curve. It's really not that hard to learn, but just gives you a little bit more flexibility. And then if you really want to go all the way, you're enjoying telling your story, or you've got an employee or a relative that wants to help you do this, the professional editing tools, Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, and really are sort of the surgeon's scalpel, that you can create. There's no limit to the professionalism that you can create. And now, of course, all these AI tools that are out there too, that can assist you in doing that. The advances are amazing. We can talk about that in the Q&A. I don't have a lot of AI stuff here, but every week, there's a new assistance through AI to help you produce stuff. I think generally we need to guard against, the artificiality of that. Certainly when you're talking about generative AI, that's a whole other thing that's coming really fast. But it's really, for us, it's about maintaining that authenticity, being who you are, and delivering that in an entertaining way. Content is king, right? And yes, it's important to put as much as you can out there to feel comfortable doing that, to build those muscles of creating and posting. But the better stuff wins in the end, and it doesn't take much to really sharpen it up. Some of the great YouTubers, Mr. Beast or whoever you might be familiar with, will all say, you got to do 100 videos before you even know what you're doing. And that sounds daunting, but the point is you will just get better. You will just sort of feel it out and find a new tool, and there'll be aha moments as you go. And it's really going to be a lot of fun. Again, back to the excuses, and we've heard them all, right? And this is a source from a survey. I think they surveyed 1,500 businesses on Wistia, which is a video hosting platform that works with a lot with businesses. Classic. I don't have time to do that, right? I don't understand. Well, yeah, we don't have time to read a book. We don't have time to, get our oil changed. We don't have time to do a lot of things that we just got to do, and we find time and make time. Company size and resources, you can do this yourself. You can get your niece or nephew to help you do it, right? Cost, you're already paying your monthly cell phone bill. It's just a little bit more time on top of that. technical capabilities. We all learned how to drive a car, which is kind of a crazy thing. It's just about leaning in and, get on any one of these platforms, spend an hour, engage with content, see what other people are doing, poke around. You'll pick it up. Lack of story ideas. I hope I covered that. Just sort of look in the mirror and tell us what you do and why you do it. That's all you need. And the rest, so there are no excuses. If you see this, if you want to grow your business, this is an avenue that I think we all need to wrestle with. And I'm guilty of it too. My business is short form video, and I don't do enough to promote my own business. So it's just a matter of sort of, again, building that muscle and achieving success, and really creating, growing a fan base that knows, likes, and trusts you. That's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. Again, back to the power of story, the power of connection is just so lacking, and to get up on my soapbox a little bit, we've never been more connected and disconnected at the same time. And the phones are, a double-edged sword, and social media freaks me out, in some ways. I get all that, but I think, its attributes, its plus sides are worse than its downsides, and that it can, even through the screen, create an emotional connection. It can spark empathy. It can build awareness. Your potential customer is not only around the corner, it's around the world. And these platforms can connect you with those customers really at no cost, and just sort of the courage to start talking about your business. And that's it. Happy to talk to you. This is what we do. We can kick around ideas, about your specific business, pillars of content. Happy to help. But what we really are trying to do is just sort of demystify all this, again, to sort of boost your courage, to just get you to try, and see the results. And then I think that'll be reaffirming. That's what I have for you today.
There's a comment here, just says, thank you so much for this webinar. We'll see if TikTok survives the Senate vote.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot we could say about that. I think it's more than what meets the eye. I'll just say what I think about this. The algorithm works really well. And it's, if you're on it, if you're not, I suggest you do. Finding your ideal customer is the magic in the black box of the algorithm. And I think Facebook and Google, Meta, it doesn't work as well. And I think that there's some competitive lobbying pressures that have gone on there. I think that we have, certainly there are data privacy concerns in this country that we have not fully addressed. It's not just a TikTok problem. And I think that it's a platform that allows us to communicate very effectively. And that is a tool that could cause some concern to people that want to control that conversation to a greater degree. It's going to be interesting. Again, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It's just going to morph. It's going to be something else. It's going to become political if it hasn't already. But it's certainly something to watch.
See. Let's see. There's a couple of questions here. Do you recommend using big note cards for dialogue for short-term videos? What does the participants need to remember lines and who are a bit nervous? Open to suggestions.
Yeah, great. Sure. I think that you want to come across as authentic, right? So if you're obviously reading something, if it seems scripted, it just sort of breaks that wall, right? And you sort of say, oh, they're reading it. So a couple of things. There are teleprompter apps that you can download and integrate into your phone. If you really have a script you want to deliver, that can work and that can be more effective. I would suggest just practice. Just do, it doesn't cost you anything to do it 20 times. It's just that repetition. And editing is a great tool too. Again, you'll see longer, videos of up to a minute where you can just stop. You can think of a sentence or two and deliver that and push pause, or record the whole thing half a dozen times and splice the best bits. So use whatever age you need to, but I would really encourage people to get as comfortable as they can just speaking extemporaneously, because it just carries that much more weight.
There's another one. If we have limited capacity, does it make sense to focus on one platform that we're already using, like Instagram Reels, versus starting an entirely new account on TikTok?
Yeah, I think that's the inclination. Well, I'm already there. I'll just do that. But now, again, the same piece of content can be placed at multiple places, multiple platforms. To me, it just makes sense. You're tripling, you're quadrupling your chance of finding a potential customer by placing the same piece of content on multiple platforms. It just takes a little bit longer, right? You have to do it. You have to produce your piece in such a way that it's on your camera roll and you can distribute it easily. And there are management platforms. We use something called Social Pilot, where you can open up all your accounts and sort of put them in there and then upload your content once and then just sort of tell it where you want it to go rather than uploading to all these platforms. So there's plenty of tools like that out there. But I would say if you are producing content anyway, put it everywhere you can. It doesn't cost you anything, just a little bit of time.
Wayne Keller says, great presentation and points made. My son uses his socials and vertical content to reach prospective colleges, showcasing his talent. And we found that his content has generated real interest that may really help shape his future. That and the points you make are all things I'm considering as I put my company out there.
Yeah, great. I'd love to hear that. And it's,
Yeah.
it's not just small business. It's nonprofits. It's, sort of political subdivisions, we call them, like chambers of commerce or downtown shopping districts, or place-based storytelling. One of the greatest accounts I enjoy on TikTok is Asheville, North Carolina, right? It's like Visit Asheville. And it's just, it's pretty pictures. It's a sense of place. And so to hear it, make connections with potential colleges is great. Yeah, it really is. Again, back to the magic of these algorithms, it'll find people, really niche stuff. And the more you're on these platforms, the more you'll see, wow, how it's, it's a little spooky. How did they know that I was interested in that thing? But it makes for a very pleasant user experience, right? Every time I open it up, I know I'm going to learn something. I'm going to be entertained. It's going to spark another thought. We don't want to get addicted to our phones, and that's a whole other thing. But used in moderation, I will say, it's a really powerful tool.
Do you have favorite sources for tracking TikTok trends and creating concepts for short form videos aside from just storytelling and answering frequently asked questions?
I mean, for TikTok in particular, there are a lot of TikTok gurus, I'll call them. And I could name them off if you're on the platform. You probably know them too, and get on it for a little while, and they'll make themselves known to you, that are sort of talking about the trends. A current TikTok trend is horizontal video. We've been talking about vertical video, obviously, because it fills the screen. Well, now TikTok wants you to try horizontal video. So it'll start horizontal in your vertical format, and you'll push the button and the video will sort of rotate to fill the screen, and then so you rotate the phone and you're watching it, really full screen, like a classic YouTube. So that's an innovation that they are pushing, right? And so they'll make an announcement like that to influencers and creators to say, if you try this, we'll boost your content a little bit. So I'm seeing more and more of that, and there are instructions on how to do that. So the platforms continue to evolve. The platforms know who their influencers or power users are, and they have, you know, influencer summits, or I forget what they call them, but it's just, you know, here's our new innovation, and they'll sort of tell their community, and the community will tell us. So I think it's really just about being engaged on these platforms, and you'll sort of quickly become aware of the trends.
Oh, and this question is, what trends and visual language motifs are your go-tos on TikTok? And
We really like, you know, what we call sort of the hero video is, you know, not trend heavy. It's really biographical. I mean, it really is, you know, that wide, medium close up. We like to start with sort of, you know, again, what we do is it's objective. We take a documentary approach to social media video. You know, we do it through conversational interviews. Just tell us about who you are and what you do, and then we do the editing, right? That's our service. And so if you, again, we're happy to discuss that with you, but if you're doing it yourself, just try to step outside yourself. Just talk about what you're doing and why you're doing it, illustrating a process, you know, being real. That's what I think is really engaging. That's what kind of cuts through, again, is that authenticity. There's all kinds of, you know, trends of the week, right? It's the funny little dancing thing, or the piece of audio that, you know, if you jumped on, you know, might get you, you know, sort of a mini viral here. You'll get a higher view count if you embrace that week's trend. To me, that's sort of chasing the algorithm. That's not building, you know, for the long term, and it's not transferable, right? You're sort of playing each algorithm against the other. To me, that's sort of maddening. It's about, you know, using the power of video to tell your story in an authentic way. And once you have that material, you know, you can cut it in different ways. You could create something longer and stick it on your About Us page. You know, you could use it on an iPad for trade shows, right? It's not all about, you know, this week's algorithm hit. It's you know, it's about documenting your journey. And we found, you know, there's sort of there's a posterity piece there too, right? Your grandkids will watch this stuff. You know, tell your story about why you do what you do. It's a bit of a time capsule. You know, storage is an issue because we're collecting so much stuff, and what do we do with our digital sock drawers? You know, that's another issue. But you know, to capture the stuff, to have it, to repurpose it, you know, and to really to help it tell your story.
are there any other questions that anybody wants to ask? I'm not seeing any more questions. So, oh, wait, there might be one more here.
Okay.
Oh, just says, thank you. Well, thank you all for coming. I will be sending out a copy of the slides to review, as well as a link to view the recording. You should receive this in a couple of days. We also send out a brief online survey for SCORE about the event, and we appreciate your feedback. As a reminder, SCORE Maine offers free, confidential, one-on-one business mentoring. It's easy to request a meeting with a mentor by visiting score.org and filling out a brief online survey or form. You can also see our other upcoming events on score.org, and we hope to see you all at a future event. Thank you so much, Dean,
Yeah,
for your presentation today. That was excellent.
my pleasure. Really, I'm a big advocate, and I encourage everybody to just kind of get over whatever trepidation and just get started. And I think you'll find it fun and effective. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Oh my God, I think it's not talk about.
Let's see here.
So thank you for the phone call, I appreciate it, and I'll let you know the follow-up.